Captain Forrest here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over why Captain Marvel versus She-Hulk is closer than you think. If you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for the content. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and dive in and talk a little bit about Captain Marvel and her feats, and I shall do the same thing to She-Hulk, and I'm going to dive in and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. Now, in order to establish how strong Captain Marvel is, we need to talk about her most impressive feats and her battle with the God of Thunder himself, King Thor. Captain Marvel is shown at the start of the fight to be physically comparable to King Thor. Her photonic blasts and her physical attacks are able to hurt King Thor. She's shown to endure strikes from King Thor, and as the battle goes on, she's shown to pretty much absorb a lot of his lightning strikes and his physical attacks, which of course over the course of battle increases her power. King Thor claims that she's no match for his strength or hammer, but she proves this to be false as she blasts Thor's hammer, causing his hammer to fly away, and pretty much it ignores his commands. Captain Marvel then proceeds to one-shot Thor and defeat him. For more added consistency, Cosmic Ghost Rider was shown to one-shot Thor, and this very same Cosmic Ghost Rider gets pressed by Captain Marvel in a beam struggle. Captain Marvel herself was able to damage Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider, who was also able to harm Thor in combat. Captain Marvel was also able to hurt Wonder Man and send him flying with a punch. This very same Wonder Man is described as having Sentry level strength, and Captain Marvel herself has a direct showing of her physically harming Sentry, and Sentry himself in older fights has physically gone at it with Thor. Hercules states that Wonder Man's strength rivals that of Thor, and this is backed up in later comics as Wonder Man has tussled with Thor and has physically harmed him. Lastly, to further cement Carol being a herald tier in power, Captain Marvel, while in her binary form, does battle with Firelord, showcasing that she is able to withstand attacks from him and also dish out her own, as she is completely able to gain the upper hand in combat against him whilst absorbing his cosmic fire. This is very impressive because in the classic days, the heat from Firelord's flames were even hot enough to bother and affect the likes of Silver Surfer, and we have Firelord and Thor in the classic days stalemating each other in combat, as Thor states that Firelord and his own power are too evenly matched. It's pretty safe to say that Captain Marvel would scale to these feats. Now of course, she wouldn't scale to current Thor, as he's pretty much become so powerful to the point of eclipsing a lot of Marvel's most powerful superheroes, and she would scale to past old versions of Thor, which gives her creation level scaling regardless. Now as for Captain Marvel's unique abilities, her special signature ability is the ability to absorb energy. She's able to absorb enough energy to the point where she can enter into a binary form, and she can also enter into this form without absorbing an abundance of energy. There are several examples and showings of her energy absorbing capabilities. When she takes physical damage, she also absorbs the physical impact from attacks and the heat produced from friction. She's able to also absorb things like the energy from the Reality Stone, a photonic blast from Blue Marvel, lightning, an energy wave from Sentry, thermonuclear energy from a warhead. Captain Marvel has absorbed energy from the Phoenix Force. She's absorbed the electricity from She-Hulk's brain, which incapacitated her. She can also absorb lightning from Thor's hammer, which you can argue has conceptual properties, and she can also absorb hellfire and also replenish herself via absorbing energy. Last but not least, when it comes to Captain Marvel's main go-to when it comes to combat situations, her photonic energy blasts is her bread and butter combo. She has shown to use it in various ways. She can concentrate her concussive blasts with pinpoint accuracy. She can simply fire a beam of photonic energy from either her hands, eyes, project barriers, and even perform area of effect explosions, which pretty much vaporize her targets. It can sterilize objects down to the cellular level. In her binary form, her photonic blasts are capable of transmutating the target who gets hit by its blast, turning their body into crystal. A unique feat when it comes to Captain Marvel's photonic energy. When she blasts Thor's hammer, he was unable to call it back to him. Now we're getting into the real serious things when it comes to Captain Marvel, and that's her binary form. Captain Marvel can tap into this form when she absorbs an abundance of energy, or she can simply tap into this form at will without needing to absorb an abundant amount of energy. Now, while in this form, it grants her a fair few abilities. It increases her attack potency, allows her to let loose in combat with destructive force. In other words, it's like a Super Saiyan form. So that's going to round up Captain Marvel. I'm going to go ahead and jump on, talk about She-Hulk. Now, when it comes to combat situations, She-Hulk is no stranger. She's fought the likes of a suppressed Green Scar Hulk, and she's able to physically react and also damage him in combat. We've witnessed She-Hulk punch and send a suppressed Immortal Hulk flying as well. She-Hulk has also shown to physically hurt the likes of Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, and take his Hellfire. This very same Ghost Rider has shown to hurt the likes of Captain Marvel and Thor with his Hellfire. Some more impressive feats for She-Hulk was the time where she was able to make Red Hulk bleed after striking him in the face multiple times. This very same Red Hulk demonstrates feats of physically hurting the Hulk, beating the rocks out of Thor, sending him flying, casually absorbing Sentry's attacks and smacking Sentry away, and breaking Silver Surfer's neck and absorbing the power cosmic from him. And for more added consistency, She-Hulk is literally able to beat and rock the brakes off Red She-Hulk, who is somewhat comparable to Red Hulk. Now that I've established these feats, let's talk a little bit about She-Hulk. Just like her cousin the Hulk, She-Hulk gains some of his gamma-imbued powers and resistances after undergoing a blood transfusion, which alters her physiology. The more angrier She-Hulk becomes, the more powerful she becomes in combat. She-Hulk's metabolism is unique and her body weight prevents her from getting drunk. She can survive longer in space than a normal human being, as her lung capacity is larger than any ordinary humans, and She-Hulk does not tire. When She-Hulk absorbs gamma radiation in any fashion, it amplifies her, makes her stronger in combat, and she's also shown to have a healing factor as well. She-Hulk is pretty skilled, believe it or not. After 3 months of training, Hulk beats the champion. The champion has mastered the combat forms and martial arts of thousands of races and has also practiced and perfected his skill. We even see She-Hulk invent her own fighting style called Shulk Fu, as she embarrasses Abomination with her skill and the use of her weapon improvisation. She also knows pressure point techniques such as the Centurion nerve jab to paralyze 2 goons. Captain America is even impressed by She-Hulk's level of skill, and She-Hulk is no stranger when it comes to resorting to underhanded tactics. So that's going to wrap up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in a inverse situation. So when it comes to attack potency and speed, right off the bat, they are very relative. It's very close. They both have similar feats, both have similar speed feats. They're both able to react to the caliber of fighters, react to the strongest Marvel heavy hitters. So when it comes to those stats, I really don't see an issue with that department. They're very relative. Now, when it comes to both their abilities, Captain Marvel, the only really big advantage she has in this fight is the ability to absorb the electricity from She-Hulk's brain. However, I'll go more into context and talk about that as I progress through the video. Now, when we look at She-Hulk, she has her Hulk physiology. The angrier she gets, the more powerful she gets. Her ability to get stronger in combat is very capable of keeping up with Captain Marvel when she gets amped in her binary form, and of course Captain Marvel does get amplified when she takes physical strikes as well. You'd have to pretty much one-shot her or take her out very quickly or immobilize her in order for that to not really take effect. Now, when we look at her fight with Savage She-Hulk, or Immortal She-Hulk if you want to call it, there were a lot of context and a lot of things we need to go over when it comes to Immortal She-Hulk. Now, when Immortal She-Hulk is in that state, she becomes very sloppy in combat, very predictable, and there's a lot of vulnerabilities in her guard. And of course, with the context of the fight, Carol used her friendship in order to gain the advantage and pretty much sneak and get the upper hand on Jennifer, aka She-Hulk. She was able to absorb the electricity from her brain because she saw that her guard was down. Now, in this situation, we're talking about She-Hulk, skinny She-Hulk, aka sensational She-Hulk. She-Hulk does not suffer from those issues when she's in this state. So when it comes to that aspect of the fight, it's going to be very difficult for Carol to even get such an underhanded tactic on She-Hulk, just due to her being more on guard in this state, and she won't be fighting in her Savage or Immortal state. So it's going to be very difficult for Captain Marvel to get off this ability. Now, when it comes to fisticuffs, they're both definitely going to scrap and throw a few punches, and they're both going to take it and dish it out. But overall, if it comes down to skill, if it comes down to immobilizing, I think She-Hulk would be able to get the job done eventually, especially if she applies her skill, because she does use skill in combat, in character a lot as well, more than Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, her skill feats, she does have some, but just nothing on the caliber of She-Hulk. So She-Hulk could definitely utilize pressure point strikes, nerve strikes. She could definitely eventually immobilize and take down Captain Marvel if there is just, a stalemate. With this reasoning, that's my thoughts on this. And because of this, I personally give victory to She-Hulk with high difficulty. This fight is very close. They will go back and forth and back and forth, but ultimately She-Hulk will use her weapon improvisation. She will use her skills, she will use everything in her arsenal, her fighting style, her skill, and she will basically be able to gain the upper hand and pretty much take down and incapacitate and immobilize Captain Marvel overall. But I think this fight is very close. If Captain Marvel does get that, energy absorption from the brain, if she absorbs the electricity from She-Hulk's brain, then I would give victory to Captain Marvel very easily. And even when we apply standard battle assumptions with the the hour interval which takes for you to get up, She-Hulk's going to be napping for the whole night. But more often not, I gotta give victory to She-Hulk with a lot of difficulty, high difficulty, very close match. But yes, that's my thoughts. If you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for the content. It's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.